Hello, I'm Dr. Benjamin Levy. I'm an associate professor at Johns Hopkins School of Medicine and the clinical director for the Johns Hopkins Sidney Kimmel Cancer Center at Sibley Memorial Hospital in Washington, D.C. What is a clinical trial? I am so glad that I can answer this question in a meaningful way and that the answer is so different than if I would have answered this question 10 years ago. This is how far we've come. Number one, clinical trial is not a bad word. It's a good word in our field now. Why is that? Why are clinical trials considered for all of our patients? Because the drugs that we have now that are coming down the pike and that are being tested are so much better and have so much more excitement than the drugs that we potentially were testing 15 to 20 years ago. And this is predicated on better science. It's predicated on better collaboration. It's predicated on better organizations that can execute these trials. So clinical trials should be considered at the time of a diagnosis. I always discuss clinical trials with my patients right when they're diagnosed. Even if there's not one available now, there's certainly opportunities on down the line. There's different types of clinical trials, and I think this is important to talk about. Clinical trials come in different varieties: phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. A phase 1 trial is looking at first in human, meaning the drug has been tested in animal models, has a lot of rationale, and we're looking at it now first in humans. And many times patients get scared of these trials because it's the first time that a patient is experienced, they're the first people to experience this drug. But what I must say is that the drugs that are developed these days for phase 1 are so well tolerated and have such good activity that the phase 1 opportunities are probably some of the best out there. It ensures that you get the drug. Yes, drugs are given at different doses, but all of my patients I consider for phase 1 trial because these drugs, a lot of them are oral therapies. They're well tolerated. We've had a lot of good experiences delivering drugs through phase 1 trials. So always consider that. Phase 2 is just moving it further along and testing not the safety, which is done in phase 1, but looking at the efficacy and at a defined dose. And again, great opportunity. Phase 2 trials, they've already been tested in some patients. They've got a good signal. You're moving them to phase 2 and everyone gets the drug. Phase 3 is the final step of a drug. It's the randomized fashion where half the patients usually get the drug and half don't. I think the important thing here is that the half that don't, they're still getting the standard of care. So it's not like you're robbing someone of the standard of care. And patients think that if they're being exposed to clinical trials, that they're not going to get the standard, or they're going to be robbed from good opportunities to improve their outcomes. It's just not true. Patients will always be able to get standards. Oftentimes, these drugs that we are looking at are added to standard, even in phase 1 and phase 2. If they're not, they look so darn good before going to humans that we test them as single agents. And I can tell you that many of the drugs now we have in lung cancer that have been approved in 2021 all started out as phase 1 opportunities in 2017 or 2018. That's how fast it took, 3 or 4 years, and these drugs didn't get approved. That's how good the science is now. That's how well tolerated these drugs are. And we're trying to match these drugs to the right patient and understanding how to fit this in. And so please talk to your physician about clinical trials. Oftentimes there are better drugs available in phase 1 and 2 trials than there are as standard of care. True story. Most of the time I talk to patients, I say, the drug that I'm looking at here, I know has better activity than standard chemotherapy. And so I'm excited about this. It's a wonderful time to be in this field, to deliver all this great science. This is not the guinea pig approach. This is an opportunity to be a part of exciting therapies that can advance the care, that are well tolerated, and improve quality of life. So I'm a huge advocate. Please talk to your doctors about clinical trials, because I think this is an opportunity and a strategy to really improve patients' outcomes in a meaningful way.